On 29th October 2025, something happened that had never happened before in the history of business. A company that most people had never even heard of became the most valuable company on the face of the earth. Not Apple, not Microsoft, not Amazon, Nvidia. A company that started by making graphics cards for teenage gamers in basements was now worth $5 trillion. More than the entire economy of France, more than every car manufacturer on Earth combined, more than anyone thought was even possible. And the craziest part? One man saw this coming 20 years before anyone else did, and for 20 years, nobody believed him. Before we get into how this happened, let's make sure you actually understand what Nvidia sells, because most people have heard the name but cannot explain what the company does. And that is exactly the point. Nvidia makes chips, specifically a type of chip called the GPU, which stands for Graphics Processing Unit. Originally, these chips had one job: make video games look good. That was it. When you were playing Call of Duty in 2005 and the explosions looked incredibly realistic, that was an Nvidia chip working behind the scenes. But here's what made Nvidia's chip different from everything else on the market. A regular computer chip processes tasks one at a time, sequentially. An Nvidia GPU processes thousands of tasks simultaneously, all at once, in parallel. For gaming, that meant better graphics. For something else entirely, it would eventually mean something nobody anticipated. It meant that Nvidia's chip was the perfect tool to train artificial intelligence. First, you need to understand the man behind all of this. Jensen Huang was born in Taiwan in 1963. When he was 9 years old, his parents sent him to the United States for a better life. He did not arrive to wealth or privilege. He arrived to survival. As a teenager, he worked as a busboy and a waiter at a Denny's restaurant in Oregon, clearing plates, wiping tables, working for tips. Nobody looking at Jensen Huang in that Denny's uniform would have seen the future richest man in semiconductors, but Jensen was already building something in his mind. He studied electrical engineering. He graduated. He worked at chip companies, learning everything he could about how the industry worked. And then, in 1993, at the age of 30, he did something that most people in his position would never dare to do. He co-founded his own company. He called it Nvidia, and in the beginning, almost everything went wrong. The early years of Nvidia were not glamorous. Their first major product was nearly a disaster, a graphics chip called NV1 that was built on a format the industry was already abandoning. It flopped. The company came within weeks of running out of money. Jensen had to lay off staff. He had to go back to investors with his hat in his hand and explain why they should keep believing. Most founders do not survive that moment. Jensen did. He regrouped. He launched a new chip, then another, and slowly, through the late 90s and early 2000s, Nvidia started winning. They became the dominant name in gaming graphics. Gaming gamers knew the name. Hardware enthusiasts knew the name. But outside of that world, nobody cared. Nvidia was a niche company making a niche product for a niche audience. Wall Street liked them fine, but nobody was calling them the future of civilization. Jensen, however, was already thinking about something much bigger.
In 2006, Nvidia made a decision that at the time looked completely unremarkable. They released something called CUDA, a software platform that allowed developers to program Nvidia GPUs for tasks beyond just graphics, scientific simulations, data processing, complex calculations. The industry responded with a collective shrug. It seemed like a nice engineering addition, nothing world-changing. Nobody wrote headlines about it, nobody on Wall Street got excited. But a small group of researchers in university AI labs started paying attention, because what they were trying to do was train artificial intelligence models. And the problem was, it took forever. It worked, but it took an eternity. Then they tried running it on Nvidia GPUs using CUDA, and everything changed. What took weeks now took days. What took days now took hours. In 2012, a landmark AI research paper came out of the University of Toronto showing that a neural network trained on Nvidia GPUs had absolutely destroyed every competitor in a global image recognition competition. The AI research world sat up and took notice. Jensen Huang had already been watching. He made a decision right then that would define the next decade. He was going to bet the entire company on AI.
For the next 10 years, Jensen quietly rebuilt Nvidia from the inside out. Every chip they designed became more powerful for AI workloads. Every piece of software they built made it easier for AI researchers to use their hardware. He was building the infrastructure of a revolution that had not happened yet, and the industry still largely did not care. Nvidia's stock was fine, the company was profitable, but nobody was calling it a generational company. Then, on November 30th, 2022, a company called OpenAI released an app called ChatGPT. Within 5 days, it had 1 million users. Within 2 months, it had 100 million users. It was the fastest adoption of any technology product in human history. And suddenly, every single technology company on Earth woke up to the same terrifying realization at the same time. They needed to build AI immediately, faster than their competitors, where they would be left behind forever. And to build AI at scale, there was only one chip powerful enough to do it: Nvidia's. Suddenly, the waiting list for Nvidia's flagship AI chip, the H100, stretched to over a year. Elon Musk was publicly complaining he could not get enough of them. Meta ordered hundreds of thousands. Microsoft ordered hundreds of thousands. Google was designing entire data centers around them. Jensen Huang, who had spent 20 years quietly building this infrastructure, was now the most important supplier on Earth, and the numbers that followed were unlike anything the business world had ever seen. In January 2023, Nvidia was worth around $300 billion, a big company, a respected company, but not a historic one. By June 2023, it had crossed $1 trillion. By early 2024, it crossed $2 trillion. And on June 18, 2024, it crossed $3 trillion, making it the single most valuable company in the history of human civilization. Jensen Huang's personal net worth went from around $3 billion to over $100 billion in less than 2 years. The man who cleared tables at Denny's was now one of the 10 wealthiest people on the planet. Every company that had ignored Nvidia for decades was now desperately dependent on it. Every analyst who had called Jensen's AI bet premature was now calling him a visionary. Every investor who had passed on the stock was watching in silence. The graphics card company had become the backbone of the modern world.
And Jensen Huang was not done. While the world was still trying to process what Nvidia had already built, he was already 3 moves ahead. In March 2024, Nvidia unveiled its next-generation chip architecture called Blackwell. The H100 that had the entire world on a waiting list was already being replaced. Blackwell chips delivered performance up to 4 times faster than anything that came before them. The companies that had just spent billions buying H100s were now being told there was something far more powerful coming, and every single one of them immediately got back in line. But Blackwell was not even the most ambitious thing Nvidia announced. Jensen stood on stage in early 2025 and introduced something called Project Digits, a personal AI supercomputer, not a data center, not a machine for corporations, a device small enough to sit on your desk that could run AI models of a scale that would have required an entire warehouse of servers just 3 years ago. Jensen's vision was no longer just selling chips to tech giants. He wanted AI computing power in the hands of every single person on Earth. The same way the personal computer changed everything in the 80s, Jensen believes personal AI computing is the next version of that revolution, and Nvidia intends to own that infrastructure too. Then there is the autonomous vehicle market.
Nvidia has been quietly building a platform called Drive for years, a complete computing system designed to power self-driving cars. Every major car manufacturer on Earth is now integrating Nvidia technology into their next-generation vehicles. The automotive pipeline that Nvidia has been building is now worth over $14 billion in confirmed future orders. Jensen is not just powering AI on servers, he's powering AI inside the cars that will drive your children to school. And beyond that, there is robotics. Nvidia launched a platform called Isaac, specifically designed to power the next generation of physical robots. As the world moves toward automated warehouses, automated factories, and automated everything, the robots doing that work will overwhelmingly run on Nvidia hardware. Jensen has publicly said he believes the robotics industry will eventually be larger than the entire PC and smartphone market combined, and Nvidia is already building the foundation for it.